Hey guys, my name is Jason with Mount Baker Mining and Metals, and on today's video we're going to be demonstrating our 16-inch by 12-inch hammer mill run by a gasoline Honda engine, and it runs wet and discharges down onto our sluice, so you have a total complete package. You can put ore in the top and get gold out the bottom. So this unit is completely mobile and it's run with a gasoline engine, and all you need is a water source, and you can be shoveling ore in the top and getting gold out the bottom in the sluice. It can fit in the back of a pickup truck, so you can take it directly to your mine site. It doesn't need a generator or anything else to run, and so you can be processing ore same day as you get on your site with very little setup time or teardown time. So with the clutch, it allows you to engage the hammer mill at the higher RPM, which helps get that rotor going and overcome that initial inertia. So this unit has quite a few water ports on it. We add a little bit of water down the top, and then we also have water injection on each side, which helps keep the material moving and the slurry going that falls through the screen. Once the material comes out, we have this sprayer bar for added water for the sluice. The material comes out as a slurry, it gets mixed here for the correct amount of water, and then it runs down this fine gold recovery sluice into the tailings pond. And with this unit, if your tailings pond is big enough or you have a large enough water source, you can recirculate the water over and over again. You don't need clean water to run this system. So here's the ore we're going to be running today. It's some tailings, it's some low-grade ore. It's all I had though. I've taken it, I've screened it to about 1.5 inches minus. And so we'll get this, we'll run it through the hammer mill. It'll come down onto the sluice, and the gold will be caught in that expanded metal and that miner's moss. All right, guys. So now we're going to clean out the sluice here real quick. And it's pretty fast. It's just these three wing nuts here that you can see down the middle of the sluice. And I'm pretty excited. I think this thing works really, really well. You guys can see the applications for small scale miner, the ability to put this in a pickup truck, take it up into the remote locations in the hills, and start essentially bulk sampling tailings piles or ore piles or small veins, places that are hard to get to. Also the ASM, the small miners in Africa and South America and other places that want to process some tons and get a fine grind and not use mercury. It's all gas powered, just needs a water source. And I think a lot of places probably can do gravity feed water sources, so you don't even need a pump. We'll just wrap up our miner's moss here. And then we'll get it washed out in this pan. And this is just a real quick demonstration. Obviously our tailings pond isn't really set up and water's running all over the place, but we got to get this shipped out to a customer here tomorrow, and he's excited for it, and we're excited for him to get it. And so in the future, I'm going to have a lot more in-depth videos and processing more, and hopefully this summer I can take it out in the field and process some more on site. But again, this is just a real quick demonstration just to show you kind of what we're working on and the advantages of some of the new equipment we have. So we'll just get this cleaned up and rinsed out. You can see that miner's moss comes nice and clean. Just take a little bit of water and we'll wash down our sluice here. All right, so now we'll just do a kind of a quick pan here of our concentrates. See if we got any gold. So there's our gold from 3 buckets that weren't even full. So that is, I'm actually impressed. That's a lot of gold for that little bit of rock we ran. So maybe those tailings aren't so low grade after all. But you can see how fine the gold is. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. It's really, really fine. The sluice does a really good job of catching that fine gold. And there's even some bigger pieces in there. So we've taken the top off the hammer mill here, and I wanted to show you guys kind of the internal mechanism. These are our hammers. These are that high chrome iron hammer that's real abrasion resistant. There's 20 hammers in this mill. There's 4 rows of 5. And then down here underneath the hammers is the screen. And the material has to stay in here until it gets crushed up fine enough to go out those little slots there. And the screen comes all the way around 180 degrees. So there's the back side of the screen. And so that's what the inside of our hammer mill looks like. To change the hammers is really easy. You just take off these side plates here that bolt on. There's 2 bolts for each side plate. So once the side plates are removed, you just pull the pin out. You can take off all the hammers, flip them around, or replace them if they're totally worn out. Put the pin back in, bolt the side plates back on, put the lid back on, and you're up and running. It takes about an hour to do. and the hammers will last, depending on the hardness of your ore, anywhere from 30 to 100 tons. So you might be doing it once a week or two. And it's a fairly easy process to do. So we're excited about bringing this new piece of equipment onto the market. I think it's really versatile and has a lot of good benefits for miners across a huge spectrum. As you saw, we have the high chrome hammers. The screen in here is a 1.2 millimeter. We actually have a smaller size screen for finer grinding at a 0.8 millimeter. And this machine will do somewhere between half to 1 ton an hour, depending on how fast you can shovel into it. Doing a follow-up video here. We just ran our 16 by 12 inch gas hammer mill with the sluice, and I brought the sluice tailings over and we're rerunning them on our shaker table to see what kind of losses we had from the sluice and how much more the shaker table can recover. So if we have a lot of gold here, we lost quite a bit in the sluice, but if we don't have much gold on the table, then we'll know our sluice is doing a pretty good job of recovery. So I just finished running the last of our buckets onto our shaker table here. It's just getting cleaned up and getting the last of the tailings off of there. So we'll take a look here and we'll brush the table down, get all the gold over the number 1 and number 2 high-grade ports, which is over on this side of the table, and we'll see what we got. And here I've just brushed down the top half of the table, and you can see our little gold line there. And this is where most of the gold would show up, just because I ran so little. But it's super, super ultra fine gold, and there's hardly any of it on there. So just from initial looks here, the sluice did a really, really good job. Now I've shut the table off here. And we can take a look. There is some gold on there, obviously. You can see the little gold line. But it is super, super fine. And really, there's not very much. It looks like there's quite a bit there, but it's so fine that there's hardly any weight there. But let's finish brushing the table down here into our number 1, and I'll get this panned out, and then I'll pan out the gold from the sluice so we can compare. Here's the number 1 and number 2 high grade off the shaker table, and these are the sluice tailings. So I'm going to get them panned out. I got my catch pan here, so I'll pan these out and we'll take a look at how much gold we got. All right, guys, so here's the little bit of gold I got from the sluice tailings, and there's actually more gold in there than I thought there would be, but it's extremely fine. Very, very small, and I'll get the shot. I'll pull the shot from the other video where we got the concentrates from the sluice, and I'll put it up here next to compare it to. But there's the free gold that we lost from the sluice. All right, guys, and here they are together. This is the sluice concentrates. This is the sluice tailings that I reran on the table. And so you can see the difference. I don't know, just estimating here, we probably got 80%, somewhere in there, recovery with the sluice. And we lost about 20% that we recovered on the table. I'll come in here for a little bit of a close-up. Let's see if I can get a shadow on this. So there you go. You can see the gold now. This is definitely the coarser fraction, is what the sluice recovered. And again, just kind of estimating, you probably got mostly 200 mesh plus there. And then over here, just again, you've probably got mostly 200 mesh minus there. And so there is our recovery from the sluice and the table. All right, now I want to do a screen analysis of our gold, and this is a 100 mesh screen, and then I have a smaller one here that's a 325 mesh screen. And I'm going to take the gold and I'm going to screen it through both of these, and we probably don't have enough to weigh accurately, but we can get a visual on how much gold passed through each one of these screens, and we'll get 3 cuts. We'll get 100 plus, we'll get 100 to 325, and then we'll get what goes through a 325 mesh screen. And again, here's our little bit of gold we're going to be dealing with, and I'm going to take it and put it in a gold pan right here. Just our mesh screen down in there. I'm going to dump, see if I can get all this on camera here. Dump the gold in there. Okay, so now we got all our gold in our screen here. And I'm just going to shake that underwater. Get all that fine gold through the screen. It pretty much all went through. Now I'm going to take a 100 mesh and wash this screen out. Need some water here. Okay, there's our 100 mesh. I'm just going to drain the water off. Give it a little swirl here. And there we go. Let's see if I can do this. There's our 100 mesh plus that we lost in the sluice. Okay, we'll take our gold here and our 325 mesh screen. So this is our 100 mesh minus. And I'm just washing it down into that screen. Trying not to lose any. And now I'll just screen out to 325 mesh. And there's what sits on a 325 mesh screen. Looks like there's some larger junk in there from the pan that I didn't get quite cleaned out. So this is our 100 to 325 mesh gold. Now let's take a look at our 325 minus. And here's our 325 mesh and smaller gold. And as you can see, this is where the majority of the gold particles are. We lost a little bit of 100 plus, a little bit more 100 to 325, but the majority of the gold is here in this really, really fine 325 mesh and smaller. So now let's take a look at the gold we caught in the sluice, and we'll give that a screen as well. All right, we'll do a quick flyby here. Here's again, this is the sluice tailings. This is the stuff we lost. So here's the 100 plus, here's the 100 to 325, and here's the 325 minus. All right, now we'll do our same screen analysis for our sluice concentrates here. So I'm going to start with our 100 mesh screen. I'll get all this stuff in the screen here. There's what's sitting on a 100. Just trying to magnet out some of the bigger steel pieces here. There weren't hardly any. And there's our 100 mesh plus. And here's our gold through the 100 mesh screen. So there's a significant amount of gold that the sluice caught that was finer than 100 mesh. All right, and here's our gold from 100 to 325. And then here's our gold, 325 and smaller. Here they are all together. This is the 100 mesh plus from the sluice cons. This is 100 to 325 mesh. And this is 325 mesh and smaller. So the sluice actually captured quite a bit of 325 mesh and smaller gold. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to suck up the gold in the pan here into the snuffer bottle. I'm going to transfer it into this blue cloth here. That we're then going to burn off, mix with lead, and cupel the lead away, and leave a nice gold button. I'm going to do that with both the concentrates and the tailings, and that way we can get a real weight percent of gold recovery for the sluice. Now all our gold's in our bottle here. So I'm going to take out our straw. Make sure it's clean and doesn't have any gold in it. It looks good. Then I'm going to get all the gold down to the bottom here, down to our point. You can see there's the gold right on my finger. I'm going to take my finger off, wash all the gold off my finger into that funnel. But all our gold's down there. Might be hard to see. Maybe you can see it. But now I'm just going to squeeze the water out. Just like you would a pan. Just like you would mercury out of a rag. And all the gold will stay in the rag. And then we can put them in our hot cupels and melt them down. And I'll do the same thing with the sluice tailings. And then we can get a good weight on each bead here. And that rag's all clean. There's no gold on that. All our gold's in here. And we'll put her in our cupel and mix some lead in it. And figure out how much gold we got. All right, here's our little electric oven here where we do our cupelling. And I've got some empty cupels in there that are up to temperature. So I'm just going to take each one of our little gold rags here, put it on there. We want to burn as much as we can off of there, because the carbon works against the lead in the cupelling process. Here goes the other one. So I'm going to just let those burn, get all the moisture out. Now that one's down to pretty much ash. So I'm going to put some lead in with it. That lead is going to melt. It's going to absorb all the little tiny gold particles. And as the lead oxidizes, the lead oxide rolls off the lead molten bead and is absorbed into this cupel dish here. And that continues until all the lead is oxidized and you're left with your precious metal button. All right, here's our buttons right out of the furnace. And the one on the right is the sluice tailings, and the one on the left is the sluice cons. All right, so here's our beads. And a couple things I want to mention while I'm getting them weighed here. The sluice tailings looked like they had quite a bit of gold there, but it was all pretty fine. It was really, really small, really, really fine stuff. A lot of it under 325 minus. And so that first bead weighs 0.075 grams. And so even though it looked like a lot of gold, it was all really fine, which doesn't weigh a lot. All right, I had to do a little convincing on this one to get it out of there, but got it loosened up. But a lot of the gold that was recovered in the sluice was bigger 100 mesh plus and that 325 mesh plus. And that's where a lot of the weight is. So that bead weighs 0.892 grams. So even though it looked like we lost a significant amount of gold, we actually recovered a really high percentage with the sluice because we could recover those bigger pieces. And so here's the total weight. Here again is the weight of the big one. And so when you divide those two, you end up with the sluice recovering right around 92% of the gold. So the sluice did a really good job recovering that fine gold. So you guys may be asking yourself, what's the value of a shaker table then if the sluice does such a good job? And there's a couple things. One is, even though the sluice does a pretty good job, you're still recovering almost 10% more with the shaker table. And so over, tens or hundreds of tons, that really adds up to a lot of gold. And the second one is the shaker table can recover the sulfides or the other heavy material in the number 2 and number 3 ports, which may hold some value as well. And it's a continuous thing and, can operate a little higher tonnage. So our strategy has always been start small, start with a sluice and a hammer mill, get some information, get some cash flow going. And then once you have enough to upgrade to a shaker table or a turnkey system, then you can slowly work your way up. The sluice tailings you save. So when you have a system that can recover the gold out of the tailings, you just run the tailings back through and you recover even more gold. And that way you can kind of, poor boy or leapfrog your way up through the production line or proving up your claim or processing gold without spending, a huge amount of money up front without having any cash flow. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a little bit different than we normally do. But I think it proved the point that the sluice and the hammer mill can be a really good option for some guys just getting started or on a prospecting basis. And I think it did a really good job. So we're really happy with it. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can find our contact information in the description below. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.